welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty radical idea. What if the brains we label as disordered are actually, well, perfectly natural? And what if it's the modern world that's built all wrong? Let's explore a whole new way of looking at neurodivergence that's going to challenge our very idea of what normal even is. Yeah, it all starts with this question right here, a real mind-bender. How can we be so certain that the standard we measure everyone against isn't the thing that's actually flawed? Let's unpack that. Okay, so first, let's talk about the traditional viewpoint. The old assumption that if a brain works differently, it must be wired incorrectly. For forever, traits that didn't fit into a neat little box were just slapped with these negative labels. If you needed to find joy in a task to do it, you were lazy. If you resisted rigid structures, you were messy. And of course, the big one, disordered, which we'll get back to, that was a label for just not conforming. And this way of thinking, it forces the individual to carry the entire weight of the problem. The message is pretty clear. You are the problem, and you need to be fixed so you can fit into the system. It just takes for granted that the system itself is perfect. But this is where things start to get really interesting. What if we just flip the whole script? Instead of trying to fix the person, let's start asking some hard questions about the system. Let's really challenge what normal means. This question right here, it changes everything. Seriously, who gets to set the standard? Who made the rules that say one way of thinking is correct and all the others are just defects? It shifts the whole conversation from an internal problem to an external one. And just look at this contrast. The so-called normal world often celebrates stuff that's pretty surface level, right? Things like conformity, small talk, picking up on fake social cues. But neurodivergent brains, they often cut right through that noise to do amazing things, like spotting deep patterns and getting into this intense, incredible focus on things that actually matter. So how do we make sense of this clash? Well, let's use a really powerful analogy that makes it all crystal clear. The factory versus the earth. Think about it for a second. Our whole society is kind of a relic of the Industrial Revolution, where efficiency was God. Our rigid schedules, our 9-to-5s, the constant pressure to be productive. It's all designed for a machine, not a human being. We've optimized everything for predictable output, not for the messy, brilliant, unpredictable way our brains actually work. And right here, you can see the core conflict. On one side, you've got the artificial order of the factory. It's rigid, it's predictable, it demands everyone be the same. And on the other side, you've got the natural order of the earth, which is actually how a lot of human brains want to operate, by following curiosity, by diving into deep thought, and by respecting our natural cycles of energy. So you see, a brain that fights against the factory isn't being lazy. It's just running on a different operating system, a more natural one. It knows it needs downtime to have those deep, creative thoughts. It comes alive under the right kind of pressure, when a problem is actually interesting. And it has this built-in instinct to reject pointless work, to save energy for what's truly important. These aren't bugs in the system, they're features of a really powerful problem-solving machine. Okay, so this brings us to a huge, crucial point, a complete rethink of a word we use all the time, disorder. We just throw this word around constantly, but have we ever really stopped to think about what it means? Let's actually break it down for a second. And this is the light bulb moment. Look at the word itself, disorder. It doesn't mean broken. It literally means to be against the order. And what order are we talking about? That rigid, artificial, factory-like order that we've built our entire world around. This just captures that internal struggle so perfectly. The pain isn't coming from the brain itself. It's coming from a world that constantly tells you that your natural inability to fit into an unnatural system means you are fundamentally broken. And here's the ultimate irony, isn't it? The more your brain operates in sync with natural rhythms, with creativity, curiosity, and deep thinking, the more disordered it's going to look when you try to measure it against the artificial rules of the factory world. So where does that leave us? It kind of suggests the problem isn't a faulty brain at all. It's a hostile environment. You know that feeling of just being totally overwhelmed? It's not some random symptom. It's a completely logical reaction to an unnatural environment. The constant buzzing, the harsh artificial lights, the endless rigid rules, the pressure to engage in fake social stuff, those are the things causing stress. The discomfort isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's your brain screaming that something is wrong with the world around you. And that's really the big takeaway here.
When you reframe this as a mismatch between a person and their environment, it changes absolutely everything. The conversation stops being, how do we fix this person? And it becomes, how do we build a world that actually has room for more than one way of thinking?
And that's the question we want to leave you with. You know, when a flower doesn't bloom, you don't blame the flower, you fix the environment it's in. Maybe, just maybe, it's time we started doing the same for the human mind.